Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day. And today, the Houston Texans have signed running back Cam Akers, who was a second-round pick for the Los Angeles Rams in the 2020 NFL Draft. He's a one-time Super Bowl champion. Last year spent his time with the Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. In 7 games with 1 start, had 200 rushing yards with 2 rushing touchdowns. Finished the season with a torn Achilles. Only started in 1 of those 7 games, though. Cam Akers actually had a really good 2022 season with the Los Angeles Rams. He played 15 games, only starting in 9. He had 188 carries with 800 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. He also had 117 receiving yards. In the 2020 season with the Los Angeles Rams, he played 13 games with 5 starts, 625 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns in his rookie season with 123 receiving yards with 1 touchdown. In the 2021 season, he was very injured, only played 1 game in the 2021 season. But when the Rams made their playoff run and won a Super Bowl, Cam Akers did a really good job in their Super Bowl run. He had 4 games, they played 4 games, so he played every single game. He started in 3 of those games. He had 67 rushing attempts. He had nearly 200 rushing yards. He didn't have a touchdown, but he did have 76 receiving yards and 8 receptions in those 4 games. So now the Texans bring Cam Akers in. Of course, they already have Joe Mixon. He's the starter. But then they have Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce, Dameon Pierce had a rough might be an understatement, second season after such a good rookie season. Dameon Pierce last season played 14 games, 7 starts, 145 rushing attempts, 416 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns. He had 101 receiving yards. Keep in mind, Dameon Pierce in his rookie season played 13 games with 13 starts. So he missed 4 games, but still managed to get 940 rushing yards with 4 rushing touchdowns and had 165 receiving yards with 1 touchdown. Now, I will say his usage was pretty high because he had 220 rushing attempts in 13 games, which is pretty high. He had 145 in 14 games this past season, even though he only started half of those games. So, Dameon Pierce had an off year. A lot of those numbers went down because, his rushing yards per carry went down from 4.3 to 2.9. The yards per game went down from 72 to 30. So, it was an off year for Dameon Pierce, you could say so. But what happens in the running back room now? Obviously, Joe Mixon's number 1, but what happens at the backup running back? Does that stay with Dameon Pierce, or does a guy like Cam Akers, who actually had a really solid 2022 season with the Rams, but has had so many injury problems, take over the backup running spot over Dameon Pierce? Dameon Pierce has looked pretty solid in training camp early on. I know the Texans are happy with what they've seen from him early on, so I think it's Cam Akers is going to have to put some good work in to take that spot over Dameon Pierce. But what I will say is I think Cam Akers, if he can do some impressive things in training camp, in preseason, I think he could make the 53-man roster as the 3rd running back on the roster. Let me know your thoughts on the signing in the comment section, and peace out. Go Texans.